What's up, everybody, and welcome back to episode 20 of the reunion of Final Fantasy VII Remake podcast. I am your host, Kai, and joining me once again today is my extraordinary, my incredible co-host, Vyzz. How are you doing, Vyzz?
I'm doing pretty good. Almost too much flattery from you there.
Never.
No,
There's never enough flattery for
yeah,
the incomparable Vyzz.
for the awesome, incomparable, whatever Vyzz, yeah. Vyzz. No, it's generally fine, trucking along and still healthy and still doing stuff for CCO and nothing too much of a change, I guess. Just doing stuff. The Final Fantasy 16 analysis is still going on.
Right.
And the third part of our Aerith Secrets analysis is also being edited right now, hopefully online in around a week, but we'll see about that. How is your life going?
Pretty good. Just super busy and yeah, work. It's just life in general, keeping me busy, and I'm just trucking along like you. And I'm just really glad that we could, sit down today to talk about all of these amazing things about the PS5 launch. And we've got a lot more in store that we're going to be talking about today. But I just want to take a second to just let everybody know that we actually celebrated our 1-year anniversary this month a few weeks ago. And we just wanted to take a second to say thank you to everybody for listening. If you're a longtime listener or, you just recently discovered our podcast, we just wanted to shout out to all of you for your constant support over the past year. And it's been so incredible being a part of this amazing Final Fantasy community. And we've met some incredible people along the way, and, just meeting new people every day actually in our Discord server for the podcast has been awesome. And we just wanted to say thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. So the best way to support us is to like, sub, and share the podcast. It's free, and it's the absolute best way to support us here. Like I just said, we are going to be talking about the PS5 launch, Final Fantasy VII Remake at the Game Awards, and all the Game Awards nominations that the game has received. And also there's a rumor about a Tifa DLC, and also a rumor about a definitive edition for PS5. All right, so the first thing we're talking about is the PS5 launch. So the PS5 has launched, and apparently it was the biggest launch in PlayStation history. Sony pre-sold as many PS5s in the first 12 hours of pre-orders in the United States as were sold in the first 12 weeks of pre-orders for the PlayStation 4, and that is from IGN. So what I wrote here is one can infer that the number must be quite high. The exact PS4 pre-order numbers aren't known, but it said in the article that we know it surpassed 1 million pre-orders worldwide by July 2013, which is 4 months before the console's launch, and over 1 million PS4s were sold within the console's first 24 hours after launch. If the PS5's pre-orders numbers in the first 12 hours match the first 12 weeks of the PS4 pre-orders, then we wouldn't be surprised if the PS4 pre-order number is nearing past 1 million in the US. So this person that wrote this article has said that it may end up that not everybody who wants to purchase a PS5 on launch day will be able to actually find one. No kidding. No kidding. I haven't been able to find one yet. I've just been looking online, constantly refreshing pages. I've been going to like a website where it like tracks PS5 stock at Best Buy and Walmart and a bunch of other places. I have not been able to find one yet. And also I wasn't able to snag a pre-order when the pre-orders went live a few weeks ago. So I am without a PS5 right now. What about you, Vyzz? Are you getting a PS5 or?
I think this is the first time I'm not running and screeching for a new console, because I'm pretty content with the games I have right now. And since it's so hard to get one, I just won't bother for a while. And I think I'll wait until one of the more anticipated games come out, like Horizon Forbidden West or God of War Ragnarok or Final Fantasy 16 or what have you. Or maybe even the definitive edition, if it is a thing, for Final Fantasy VII Remake. We'll see. But for now, I'll just wait until all this delivery bottleneck passes, and hopefully get one sometime next year.
Yeah, so for me, what I wanted to do was I plan on selling my PS4 Pro and then using that money to help pay for the PS5. And since it has backwards compatibility, I didn't even need to buy like any launch games for PS5 right now because I was just hoping that I could finish the games that I have on me in my PS4 backlog. So then at least I still have something that I can play. You know what I mean? So the PS5 like works with PS4 games. So I was just like, well, it's kind of a no-brainer. I'm just going to sell my PS4 Pro, use that money, pay for my PS5. I don't need to spend money in any software. And then when the games come out that I really want, I'll just buy those when like I have the money or when those games are out. Like you said, so Final Fantasy 16. I already played Spider-Man like quite recently, actually. Well, a year ago. I bought it when it was on sale, I think last Christmas. And like, it's quite recent that I finished it. So I just didn't really feel like I wanted to kind of, pay again for the PS5 version of that game. The only game that I really want to play is the remake of Demon Souls.
I see, yeah.
But yeah, so that was my thought process anyway. And, but I haven't been able to find one. And apparently Sony has made a quote that said they are working as hard as ever to get the PS5s on store shelves for the holiday shopping season near the end of the year. So, I mean, like, we just don't know when we're going to get more. And I think people were expecting to get more, like, for big, stores to actually have more stock for Black Friday. So Black Friday has come and gone. There is no stock. I don't think any stores actually got any stock. So we're just kind of patiently waiting now for the stocks to get refreshed. And even then, people aren't even going to be able to go into the store and actually buy it off the store shelf. I think that it's going to be online only. So you're going to have to order it online and then you're going to have to wait for it to get shipped to you.
And then there are also those scalpers. Have you heard about this scalper from the UK, I
Yes.
think? Who bought up
Yes, I have.
3,500 units and sold them for thousands a piece or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the next thing that I have written. It says that there is the other issue that scalpers bought a bunch of them online and they've been reselling them for $1,500 each.
Yeah.
Actually, I checked online and it looks like there's a few for sale for $1,500 on eBay. And there's another website here in Canada that I use to buy like used things. And there's some listed on there as well for about $1,500 Canadian. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I also heard about one of those scalpers being raided, like it's been doxxed and robbed.
Oh,
because people were really, really angry, I guess. But I didn't.
Oh my God.
Didn't dig into the story because, yeah, I personally don't really care right now because it doesn't affect me. But I probably should have dug deeper into the story to be able to tell you guys this. But maybe just do your research and look the story up yourself to see what's actually about, because headlines can be misleading.
Exactly. The whole thing, I think, like, it could have been handled better.
Oh, for sure.
I think that because of COVID-19, they had limited staff and, like, it trickled down to the point where they didn't have as many consoles as they knew that they needed. And I think also there's the chip, like the GPU chip, it's also being used, sorry, in the new Xbox console. And I think there's some kind of an issue with supply with the chip. That's what I read online somewhere as well. So I think it's kind of just a bunch of factors all mixed in together that kind of created this situation. And I think that the pre-order situation was also really sketchy because apparently people had gotten emails, like long-time PlayStation Plus subscribers had gotten direct emails, I think, from Sony, or it was like on their website you had to sign up and then Sony would send you an email if you were chosen to be able to pre-order first. And then it was like, what's the criteria for that? Like, you had to have had PlayStation Plus for X amount of years, or how much money you've spent. Like, nobody knew the criteria and not everybody got a pre-order link. And I've had PlayStation for, I don't even know, like, when did the PlayStation 3 come out? PlayStation 2, like, I've had them for years.
Something?
Yeah, like, so I didn't get a link. Like,
That's
I didn't get a
strange.
link. Am I a PlayStation Plus subscriber? Sometimes I am. I don't subscribe when I'm not playing games on it. I don't just leave it. Like, I don't pay when I don't use the console. And I haven't played it in a while, since I played Remake, basically.
Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Yeah, but like the whole situation is like, how do you choose who gets a console before somebody else? Like, it's just kind of like favoritism, and then
Yeah.
also that already made people mad, right? Like that people were upset. And then when the pre-orders went live, the websites crashed. People said they had confirmed like getting a pre-order, and then they later got a email saying, "Oh, sorry, it was a mistake. They sold out before, but you didn't get an error message at the time, so we're sorry." And like the whole
Oh
thing was
boy.
just it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, whole mess.
And yeah, it's just it's very unfortunate because people want to buy this console, okay? People
Mhm.
want to buy it. Like people are ready to throw their money at it. I was listening to another podcast and they said something interesting, and it's like paying your money isn't good enough. It's like I have to spend my time and my money now. It's like my money isn't good enough. They want my money, yes, but it's like I have to now spend my time trying to find a PS5 online, trying to, go to a website, hit refresh, take time into my
Mhm.
day to find one. It's like my money isn't good enough anymore. And it's kind of true. It's kind of true. It's like who's going to sit down and who has time to actually really go and find one?
It's all about time and investment because if you're
Yeah.
more invested in a product, you're more likely to stay in that product line. And
Yeah.
yeah, the more you invest in something, the less you're likely to drop it anymore. It's quite common,
I
yeah.
just want to go to the store and get
Yeah,
one.
sure.
Even if I can't buy it off the shelf, I should be able to, like, they should have inventory at the store where I can just literally click on pick up in store. And then Best Buy will email me with a time. And then
Mm.
I show up at that time and I pick up my PS5. And okay, it's not on the shelf, but it's in the back. It's not like I have to pay for it and get it shipped to me. I'm assuming that's what's going to happen when they get more stock. And I just, at this point, honestly, I don't know if there's going to be more stock for the holiday season.
Probably
I
not.
know that it's kind of being dramatic here, but honestly, I
Yeah.
don't think so. I think that there's still people that have been on a waiting list even now, like because stores have been taking a waiting list. And it's like, even when they get more stock, those people are going to get them first.
Mhm.
So you just can't walk into a store and get one.
Yeah, I thought about this a few days ago that if this keeps on going, holiday season is kind of a no show for many people who want the PS5, which is a bummer. Well, for me personally, not, but I really feel bad for all those people who wanted to get one for the holiday season because they then have time to play or want to gift it to someone or something like that. It's really a mess, and I'm pretty sure it has a lot to do with the COVID situation because
Mhm.
many people were speculating if PlayStation and Xbox might be delaying their products to next year. But PlayStation and
Right.
Sony kept saying, no, no, it will be there for holiday season. Yes, yes, yes. Kept confirming, and people were still kind of on the fence, and they kept their promise, but now they're short on stock because of all this delivery shortages and delays, and it's a whole complete mess. Yeah, just
Mhm.
to keep schedules and deadlines and to be
Yeah.
in the business for holiday season. I think this was the main reason for that. And when there's shortage, there's more demand. And as you said, then it's more investment and people want it more. It gets more popular because it's not available anymore. It's also a sales tactic. So maybe halfway a tragedy and halfway planned. I have no idea. It's a mess.
Well, Sony did say that they sold every console that they made.
Mm.
Like they're all sold. Like every single one that they made, the first go through, they've all been sold. There's nothing left.
I do remember that there being shortages for I think the PS2 because in Switzerland when we are ordering it, I think I wasn't able to get one at launch day, but maybe 2 months later because they were also just sold out everywhere.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it was an issue before, and now it's even a bigger issue because of shortages of all components, I guess, because of
Yeah.
this year's situation.
Yeah. I do think it's good that they didn't have any for Black Friday. I think that would have been terrible,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
too when the stores are open and people are flocking to the stores, and like with the pandemic is still happening, people, So I totally understand. I think it's good that they didn't have any. Like indirectly, this was a good thing because there's no stock, but I still think that if they knew this was going to happen, they could have pushed back the release date so that more people could have had access to a console at launch, and people still could have been safe because they could have just had it so it was online only like they're currently doing, or you order it in store, there's none on the store shelves but they have them in the back, and then you just click on okay, you pay for it on their website, and then you go and you pick it up. But you're given a certain time to go and pick it up. Like you have to go and pick it up at this time because they don't want people going into the store at the same time to reduce, the social distancing and the transmission of of COVID and everything. And I do I agree with you about what you said about supply and demand. Okay, there isn't enough consoles, so now it's like, oh, the demand is high, people want more, so it makes it more popular. I do agree with you about that. But on the opposite side of that, what I have written here is, so there is obviously more software that's made for PS5 than there are PS5 consoles right now. So the people that are suffering are the software developers because there's more games than there are consoles. Not every single person who got a PS5 is buying every single game that has been released for that console right now. Plus the fact that it's backwards compatible, so there are people that aren't even buying software for it. They're playing their existing PS4 games on their PS5. So those games are launch games. They're new right now. Who knows how long it's going to take for all those people to get PS5s, like all of us to get them, and they're like the demand is down now because everybody has one and they're just on the store shelf. Like who knows? But I think that that's one thing that people aren't talking about is how they're not selling as much software. I don't know if this is true. There's no study, like there's nothing online, but for me in my mind, I'm just thinking not everybody is buying every single game for this console. So the software is sitting on the shelf waiting for people to buy it, but like nobody has a console. Like only like 2.5 million people have console, or however many it was that they sold. Does that make sense? Or am I just crazy? Like, do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I think you're onto something because let's say the PS5 exclusives like get shipped to all the retailers, and they might not be able to sell all of them because people can't play them and thus don't buy them.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And like Demon's Souls is not offered on PS4.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
only PS5. I want to buy it on PS4. Like I will go buy it right now and play it on my PS4 while I'm waiting for a PS5. But it's a PS5 exclusive. You can't even buy a PS4 version of it. So that developer is losing money. And when you're like Sony has come out and said this about PS4 and PS3, they were selling those consoles at a loss because they make the money back in software sales.
And in digital console sales, because the digital console is probably overpriced. Or was it the other way around?
Yes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. So they're not selling as much software as they could be selling if they had like 100 million consoles sold right now. And who knows if those games are going to be sold as much, like if they had enough supply for everybody, not everybody, but most, like more supply than what they have now, if that would have like actually had an impact. There's no way of knowing right now. But for me, I'm sitting here like the developers made the games. They've paid the money to make the game. They've been copied. They're on store shelves. Not everybody is buying those games because not everybody has a PS5. So the sales for the games are probably super low right now.
Probably, yeah, I guess so. I haven't looked into it.
And how are they making money if nobody's buying the software?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not our fault that they're not being sold. It's because barely anybody has one. Like, what's the total population of the world? I don't even know. Like 100 billion? 300 billion?
Around 7 billion, I guess. I think it was
so
six,
a lot more than what
it was 6 something like a few years ago. So I guess around 7 billion it is.
Okay, so how many did they sell? Like, how many did they make? Like 2.5 million consoles? That is not very much of the population.
No, really. Although, right now the PS4 has been sold almost 120 units, I
Yeah,
think. Around.
exactly.
PS2 was at 150, I think, if I remember correctly. So it's PS2 is still the highest within the PlayStation family.
Yeah. But think about all those people. Like, this was another issue that somebody brought up as well. I forgot. I think it was on another video game podcast that I listened to, but they were saying that like they aren't going to be able to have that kind of an adoption rate for the console, for the PS5, because people have like 120 million people have PS4s. But if you only have PS5 exclusives, like they're not selling those to PS4 console owners. That's 120 million
less
consoles of PS4 that they could actually sell the software to if there was a PS4 version of the game. There isn't an upgraded Spider-Man for PS4. There isn't Demon Souls for PS4. Like some of those games are getting PS4 versions, like Cyberpunk, which got pushed back a bunch because the old platform, like the old generation consoles, are having issues with it, so they keep pushing it back. And we know this, and all this stuff has been happening, but people are still going to buy those games, right? So that's 120 million people that have PS4s that are probably, not everybody wants to buy Cyberpunk, but a lot of those people do want to buy Cyberpunk, including the PS5. But the sales for Cyberpunk are going to come from the people who already have the PS4.
Most likely,
because that's not very many consoles for PS5. They're not making as much money as what they're going to make selling it on PC and selling it on PS4 and Xbox or Xbox One instead of the Xbox Series X or whatever.
What I'm also interested in, how many people do buy PS5 or cross-generation games now for the PS4 and then not for PS5, or will rebuy the PS5 version? This is something I'm interested in.
That's so true. That's another thing as well, actually. But I think Cyberpunk, they did come out and say that their CD Projekt Red actually said that they weren't going to charge for a PS5 version. If you buy the PS4 version,
I see.
You automatically get an upgrade to the PS5. But that's not every developer. That's just CD Projekt Red. So like, you don't have to buy a PS5 version, but they're losing money because if they're offering a free upgrade to PS5 from PS4, then that's a loss. They're taking a loss from PS5 because you could have bought that version for PS5, right? But not every developer is doing that. Other developers are, like you said, are releasing PS5 version, PS4 version across every platform and to make as much money as possible, right? But
especially
that's another thing.
Spider-Man debacle is also a bit weird because if I remember correctly, you can only get the PS5 version of Spider-Man if you buy it with Miles Morales, I think.
Yes.
This is also a weird model.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and they didn't offer a free upgrade to the PS5 if you own the PS4 version, so you have to rebuy. So you have to buy Miles Morales, which is PS5 exclusive, but then you get the upgraded version of Spider-Man for PS5. But you can't get that if you bought the PS4 version.
It's all about maximizing profit. Always.
It's crazy, honestly. It's insane, and I just want everybody to be able to get a console as soon as possible, but who knows how long it'll take.
Who knows?
Anyway, so that brings us to our next topic. We are talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake, enhancements, or a patch for PS5. When the PS5 came out, I was hoping, like I was on Twitter and I was on YouTube and Twitch just expecting people to get home, like open their PS5, put in the remake, disc, or open it up digitally, whatever. And then I was expecting there to be some kind of an enhancement. It appears that there actually isn't any enhancement for the remake on PS5 as of yet. It seems that it loads faster and that the frame rate is locked to 30 FPS, which we already knew from the PS4 Pro version of the game. It actually has a steady frame rate. Because there was, I think it was that Digital Foundry video where it was like they compared the versions across all the versions of the remake, and it was literally steady 30 FPS.
Yeah,
So
perfectly
the
steady.
only thing that we're getting, the only thing that we're getting is faster load times because it has an SSD, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we know about the PS5 is that it's that incredible SSD that it comes with that's proprietary to Sony. So obviously it's going to load faster. The texture issues have not been fixed. I was hoping that somehow they would be fixed, but obviously it's a bug.
It's a software problem.
Yeah, it's a software issue, right? So until it gets patched out, there's not going to be any enhancement because you're playing it on PS5. And obviously it's not a PS5 version of the game. It's a PS4 version that you're playing at the highest fidelity, basically. So it's basically like you're playing the PS4 Pro version in backwards compatibility or whatever emulation or whatever the software that they've made to make it work on PS5. So, but it's interesting because there are other games, like other developers that did have patches that do take, what is the word that I'm looking for? Like
advantage.
Yeah, take advantage of the power of the PS5, right? So we did get a patch for Remake a while ago. The only thing that I could find online was there was like a translation issue and it patched out something. I don't know if it was like a VA issue or something, but it doesn't appear that it was a patch that did anything that helped, upgrade the visuals of the games.
No, I think they also fixed a few bugs. Maybe the one in the vent in the Shinra HQ. I'm not quite sure if it has been confirmed by people who tried it, but I think it has been fixed.
Yeah.
Some other things. I think a few glitches that have been used for speedrunning might have been patched out as well, but I'm not up to speed about this one because it was too trivial of a patch for me to actually care.
Yeah,
be honest.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I just quickly looked online and I was trying to find information about it, and then all I could find was I think that the patch notes had just said that it just like improves the performance. Like it didn't have anything specific about what it changed. So then I did some digging and I just found that it said bug fixes and something else about some translation or voice issue or something like that that they patched out. But I'm not surprised. Honestly, I'm not surprised. Like the game came out with the texture issues. It hasn't been patched. It's only been patched once, and that's the patch. And that's their choice. And obviously, they probably like with COVID and everything. We've already talked about this on previous episodes. So who knows? Anyway, all we know is that it doesn't change anything. I know that I was watching Atai Kimochi play it, and she had said that she was like, it looks like the hair's been improved, and I'm just sitting there but thinking like, no, it's just you're playing the PS4 Pro version because she played it on a base PS4. So she said like the aliasing on the hair looked better, and that's the way that it looked on PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
So somebody had highlighted that to her, and she's like, oh, okay. So there wasn't any like anything other than that anybody had said that I could find anyway that thought that it was upgraded or anything. So going on from that, so it looks like Ghosts of Tsushima did get a 60 FPS, or Ghost of Tsushima, sorry, did get a 60 FPS update for PS5 and has seen a performance increase.
Has it been a patch or wasn't it just not natively compatible? I don't remember. Because I
thought that I looked this up and I did see that it was patched.
Oh, okay, I see, yeah. I've seen videos about Ghost of Tsushima, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that it was a patch. I did not look to see, like I didn't link the article, but I did do some investigating just to make sure. I see. I'm pretty sure that it said there was a patch, or like you said, it was just that it was already like the frame rate was unlocked by default, but it would have to have a patch in order to see a performance increase to work with the PS5. So
sort of, because it depends, because for the Final Fantasy VII Remake, it was locked to 30 FPS. That's why there's no performance increase, but other games had unlocked frame rate.
Okay.
And the PS4 and PS4 Pro just didn't get much more. And here, for the PS5, they can actually benefit from the unlocked frame rate, which some games then show like 40, 50, or even 60 FPS. Ghost of Tsushima is completely steady locked FPS, so this might be the result of an update. Could be, yeah. I personally haven't played the game yet, and of course not on the PS5 because I don't have it yet. But I don't remember Digital Foundry talking about an update, or the Sacred Symbols podcast, which I usually listen to. It's a PlayStation podcast, and I don't remember them saying anything about an update. Maybe I just missed it, ignored it, I don't know. But there are a lot of games that really do benefit from an instant performance boost, especially in terms of FPS, which is pretty good. Some games do have different modes, like performance and a quality mode. I think it's called, like resolution or performance first. And if you choose performance first, it just tries to get in as many FPS as possible. And on a PS5, it's just 60, which is really good.
So I just looked it up, and it says that Ghost of Tsushima will reportedly use PS5's game boost function to boost performance up to 60 frames per second while being played on backwards compatibility mode. So it doesn't appear, it did get a patch version update 1.1, it said. It's free for all players, but it adds online cooperative multiplayer experience. And it unlocks something else. So there's extra content that was released. So that's not the patch, that it's just that the game is using game boost function of the PS5. So that's how, but it's probably, like you said, it's able to do that because it has an unlocked frame rate.
Exactly.
Right? It's not locked to 30, which Square Enix did for the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And we did talk about this on previous episodes where they probably had quality, like Q&A issues or whatever, Q&A, whatever it's called, where they had issues, right? Running it at 60, where it probably had screen tearing or it couldn't like run at 60 steadily. So they probably made the decision to just cap it at 30 for the PS4 and the PS4 Pro. So it was just as consistent as possible.
Exactly.
Right? So in my opinion, I think that Square Enix should at least unlock the frame rate so that it can, and it can use the game boost setting in PS5, and we can play it in backwards compatibility in the whatever it's using, emulation, whatever, with the smooth, like a frame rate that's as smooth as possible. Like that's what I want. I don't know about you. I don't know how hard it is to do that. It would obviously be a patch that they would have to change,
for sure,
right? They'd have to go in and do something, but at this point, I just don't see them doing that.
No. It's also will have to go through QA, of course, to make sure that there's no problem, and it kind of can go up to 60 and not just switch between 30 and 55 all the time, because then it gets janky and it's even worse than steady 30 FPS.
Exactly.
So this might take a bit, and as we'll talk about later about the potential definitive edition, they might.
We're going to talk about that right now.
Or right now, yeah. I have a feeling if they go for a definitive edition or Mako edition, as some people predict, they probably want to lay into this with all they have, like not release patch after patch after patch, but release a definitive version which has all the goodies, like better textures, texture fixes, 60 FPS, 4K native on PS5, what have you. Hopefully also this Tifa chapter everyone's been talking about and keeps harassing the FF7 Remake account, which with each post they do, it's so funny to see. They post anything, and like the third or fourth comment down there is Tifa DLC when? Please give us Tifa DLC. Yeah. Come on, please. I think they heard it by now. Because usually either they do it or they don't. Fan outrage probably won't change much. But yeah, I'm not the one to judge. I'm usually more of a patient gamer.
Yeah, so the rumor was that we were apparently getting a PS5 definitive edition of the game coming out with Tifa DLC, because apparently there was a few scenarios with Tifa or chapters in the game that were cut last minute. So this stuff has all been, it's done. And then there was also a Twitter, there was, like you said, I think it was in the, I can't remember now, but something was translated from Japanese that apparently this is what was happening. Obviously, this is just rumor and speculation. We don't know, so we're just having a healthy conversation about this. I did see that voice actors for Tifa and Jessie were actually in the studio. There was like a picture taken of them both together, and then I think it was taken down actually after people had started like writing in the comments on Twitter being like, "Oh, ha, like recording for part 2 or Tifa DLC question mark or something like that." And then I think it's gone now.
I think so too, yeah.
But anyway, take it with a grain of salt. It could have been them recording for part 2. It could have been anything. We don't know. And then people were like, "Oh no, Jessie, like, oh, clearly she's in part 2 now because we don't know what happens to her, right?" And it could be that she's featured in flashbacks in part 2. We don't
Hopefully.
know. We don't know. But anyway, I do hope that we do get a definitive edition of this game. I think that is more than likely we will. I think that once they go back and, they release this game on PC and Xbox Series X or whatever, they might just release it like a PS5 definitive edition at the same time that it comes out for Series X and a potential PC version. I just don't know when we don't know when the PC version is going to come out. Usually they have come out in the past about a year or a year and a half later. Like, how long did it take for 15 to come out for PC? I think it was a year and a half.
I was just trying to remember. I really don't remember when exactly it released. I'd have to look it up, but I think it was more than a year.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we might see an Xbox One / Series X release first, right? And then maybe the timed exclusivity expires, and then they release it for Xbox One, but then they also announce a definitive edition for Series X, and they do a PS5 definitive edition at the same time. Or maybe they want to milk that cash cow
probably
for as long as possible, right? On the Xbox One version, so they make the PS5 users wait until later, maybe. I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
Anyways,
I don't think so because it's a PlayStation first game, and if they then release something for the Xbox crowd first and leave the PS5 users and PS4 users out to dry, I don't think this would fly well. Also, I just looked it up. November 29th, 2016 was the original release for Final Fantasy 15, and March 6th, 2018. So almost a year and a half later. What is this? Yeah. No, not even. That's a year and quarter. A year and 3 months or something. Was it later? So it could be that maybe next year by June, July or something, we get the definitive edition.
Could be. Yep, it could be that we don't get that until the PC version comes out.
Yeah, I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, look at what they did with 15. They had a Royal Edition. They had Windows Edition, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it was this. Wasn't it the same? Because the Royal Pack was an upgrade. Royal Edition was just the base game with the Royal Pack, and the Windows Edition is. Oh no, this was just with the additional scenes and stuff, and the Windows.
Yeah, that was for PC only, I think.
No, the Royal stuff is just the extension, like the additional scenes, controlling the other characters from the DLC. I mean, with their slightly different battle system. But the Windows Edition, I think, also had all the DLCs from the first season pass in it. So the Windows Edition might have been happening later. But this quick search, I don't want to search even more and
yeah, no, it's all good.
Use up time. But in the end, I think when the exclusivity runs out, it might take maybe a few months until there's a definitive edition for all platforms like PC, Xbox Series X, and PS5.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I hope so.
And the additional Tifa chapter might be there, or they release this earlier separately. But I don't know which. Maybe everything drops at the same time. Because if they have to go through QA for the DLC, and then go through QA again for the whole package for all the other consoles, I think they probably want to do everything in one go to save time. because part 2 is still in development and they don't want to lose time there and keep schedule.
Yeah.
So
it could be that the Tifa DLC isn't even real. Like we don't know.
For sure,
right?
yeah.
But
it's wishful thinking.
I definitely see them. Yeah. I definitely see them releasing a PS5 version with upgraded visuals.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
We just don't know. It's just a matter of time. But I would gladly rebuy this game for PS5. And I'm gonna buy it again on PC. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah, I hope there's an upgrade for PS5 or something, but yeah. Probably have to rebuy the whole thing.
I'm not gonna be buying the if they have like a super limited edition, I'm not gonna be able to buy it because I bought the first class edition.
I see, yeah.
So
yeah.
I have to say no. So if I ever tell you that if they come out with this thing and like I really want it, just try to convince me. Just be like, you know what, Kai, just no.
Just
your wallet will thank you later.
Definitely. I'll try to remind you. Unless if there's a Tifa statuette in there figurine, I wouldn't be able to resist.
No.
Or Aerith or Red 13 or something, or the whole cast, I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm bad with those figures. I have all the figures for 15. It's so bad. I should have just waited until this game came out and then bought all the figures for this game. I only had the Cloud like figure that came with the first class edition, but obviously I have the sick Hardy
Daytona, yeah.
Yeah, Hardy Daytona, which is incredible, but I just can't do it. Like I need to like save money. I have a problem. Send help. Sure. SOS.
SOS.
Please.
Now.
Especially after buying a PS5. Oh my god.
Yes.
Like I'm in Canada, guys. Canada, honestly, the prices, it's insane. It's insane. It's so much more expensive. It's $630 plus taxes for a PS5. Yes.
Oh boy.
For a PS5 with the disc drive, which is what I want because I only have a few games that are digital and I want to be able to play my current PS4 library that I have on disc. So obviously I'm going to buy that version, but it's $630 plus taxes.
It's too much.
And the games are $100 for PS5 game.
Come on.
It was almost $100 for PS4 game. Anyway, sorry. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm going to be broke forever. Like that's the reality. That's the reality.
Yeah, it's harsh.
Anyway, so moving on to our next topic, we are talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake at the Game Awards. And so unsurprisingly, Final Fantasy VII Remake was nominated for 6 Game Awards. Woo!
Yeah, like how many times? 6 Game Awards, it's crazy.
Yeah, so congratulations to everybody at Square Enix on the Final Fantasy VII Remake development team. That's quite the feat, and honestly, I'm super proud of everybody. You guys, I mean, they work so hard.
Oh, yeah,
they work so hard, and they really tried really hard to give us, you know, this incredible experience and also hit those nostalgia notes. And, you know, I thought the game was incredible, and it brought up a lot of emotions for me. And, you know, I love this game so much, and I did vote for it in every single one of these categories. Even though I might have thought that it might not win every category.
Probably not.
I still voted for it because if I didn't, who am I?
Sure.
Right? Like, who am I? Who am I? We have a Final Fantasy VII Remake podcast, so I had to.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
I would have too if I voted because I haven't played many of the other games, so I can't really judge them. But in the end, I didn't vote because I think you had to log in with your Facebook or Twitter account or something, and I said, nah. If I can't create a completely new account, which doesn't tie into any other social media, then I'll do it. But no.
Yeah.
Just no.
Yeah, I signed in as the podcast on the podcast account just to do it because I have an account like with Gmail, Google, whatever. Like,
oh, I see.
I logged in and did it, but I didn't do it on my personal account. I just did it on the podcast account. So
I could have done that too with the CCO account. Oh well.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So I just wanted to go through the list of the nominated categories, for the game, and then obviously we'll go through and then just give our opinions about which one we think might win. So also the game was I think it was nominated for Golden Joystick Award, but I right? It was Golden Joysticks, which
Golden
is from
Joystick,
Games
yeah.
Radar as well, but it didn't win. It was The Last of Us Part 2, I think, just swept all those categories. I think it literally won almost every single one.
No surprise there. It's rigged, the game.
Yeah. I didn't look too much into that, but I know that Last of Us Part 2 won. And then people were kind of comparing the Golden Joystick Awards to the Game Awards, so people are assuming that Last of Us Part 2 are just going to win everything for the Game Awards. But anyways, so let's start with Best Game Direction. So we've got Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Half-Life, and Last of Us Part 2. This is a hard one. I don't think Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to win this for Best Game Direction. I think it's going to be Ghost of Tsushima or Last of Us Part 2.
Possibly, yeah. The direction was pretty good, but some scenes, especially with NPCs and the less important scenes, were basic at best. Actually, the real cutscenes, those were superb, definitely.
Yes.
But the rest, average, I'd say. So Ghost of Tsushima, I haven't played it. I watched my roommate play it a little bit, and it's really, really beautiful. Like, just walking around and the scenes and the battles and stuff, it's really well made. So
I haven't played it yet either, but I did look a lot. Like I researched about it online, and it's just incredible.
Definitely.
And I think that it has a good chance of winning. And then Hades was it's an indie game, and it sounds like it's an incredible game. People love this game, and I did look at I looked at the different scenes and stuff and cutscenes, and I was watching, and the voice acting is really good. So who knows? You know, it could be Hades.
Maybe.
I haven't played Half-Life because I don't have VR. So
I see.
This was the Half-Life for VR. Apparently, it's incredible.
I heard good things about this one too. Yeah. So the choice is pretty difficult, I guess. Although I could see The Last of Us Part 2 winning here because game direction itself is also very well made, especially during gameplay as well, not just cutscenes. So it's it would have been a well earned, or it would be well earned if they won.
See, I agree with you. For Remake, like the battle system in Remake is amazing, and I think that's one of its strengths. I think they did a really good job. I think it can be improved. We talked about this before. The cutscenes were incredible as well, but I think it's a strong contender. But I just don't think it's gonna win.
Yeah, because the rest isn't up to par, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on to the next category, we have Best Art Direction. So the nominees are Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Ori, and the Will of the Wisps, and The Last of Us Part 2. So I had said Best Art Direction, honestly, Ghost of Tsushima. I also thought Hades might win because the art in that game it's insane. Like, it's so good. It's so good. And it fits that time period of the game, like where it's set, like because it looks like it's hieroglyphics. It looks like that. Like, it looks like it's kind of like an alive.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. I haven't seen any footage until now, so I can't say anything about this game. I probably should have watched at least a trailer or something, because I've literally no idea about this. I'm such a kind of a boomer right now, but in terms of games, because I barely play anything anymore. I don't have as much time.
It's all good.
Anymore.
It doesn't matter.
Remake and Trails of Cold Steel is the only thing I play right now. So
it's all good.
Yeah.
But just by looking at it, what do you think?
Hang on. I really need to just pull up a screenshot or something to even be able to say anything about it. Hey, Hades.
To all the people that are gonna like rage at us in our email and social media, we're really sorry.
Yeah, super giant builder for Hades PS4. Okay, all right. I've seen the character. That's about it. Oh, it's like a bird's view isometric game, I guess. Yep. The colors are really interesting. Looks
Yeah.
looks pretty cool. I see now. Okay, yeah. I need to watch a trailer later after this podcast. Looks really good,
Yeah.
definitely.
I just my heart is telling me Hades or Ghost of Tsushima.
Although I have to say, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, those
Yes,
scenes I saw and
that's
trailers,
true.
it's so beautiful. I'm
It
really
is.
jealous that it's an Xbox only, Xbox
Yep.
exclusive. It's
Same.
really beautiful.
Yep, I agree.
Although I must say, FF7 Remake is also very beautiful if
It is.
the textures load correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So in the slums would look so much better if if there were higher resolution textures,
It's
especially
true.
in Sector 5. There's so much low res textures around if you're close up, and even low polygon elements and objects. It's just so weird. The quality shifts between extremely well and rather poor, I'd say. So it's really hard to say it will win because it's so inconsistent. If, let's say, chapter 1, 2, the last two, and I think a few in between were also very well made. If they held the quality all over the game, even in non-cut scenes, like in conversations with NPCs, then I'd say yes, best art direction contender. But right now, it's not consistent enough, I'd say. The other games, I
Right.
think, are consistent enough, but I can't really say anything unless we're talking about Last of Us Part 2, which is pretty much consistent. I didn't see many areas that looked poorly. So I think it was pretty much all the way through high quality. So I'd say it could also win, but my vote would go to Ori or Ghost of Tsushima in this one.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Best soundtrack. The nominees are Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Hades, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and The Last of Us Part 2. I think that I want Remake to
Yeah,
win,
same.
and I think that it will win Best Soundtrack.
I really hope so. I can't say anything about Hades and Ori. Last of Us Part 2 is more just fitting to the game, but
Yes.
it doesn't grip me as much because in the remake, first, it's nostalgia. Second, is so
Mm-hmm.
many bombastic and really
Yeah.
also emotional tracks are there. Different themes sometimes overlap in certain scenes. It's just so well made and diverse.
Mm-hmm.
It's of course we're biased, but I think it should win. Doom, I heard, has
I
also
think
a
so too.
great soundtrack, especially one
Yeah.
that pumps you up for the battles.
Yes.
But yeah, it's also difficult to say because I don't really know how the others sound, Hades and Ori. But yeah,
Yeah.
soundtrack for me, FF7 Remake without any contender. It's just
Yeah.
can't say anything else here.
So best narrative. So the best narrative nominees are 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, The Last of Us Part 2. Honestly, I think it's going to be between Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima again.
Possibly, but not for me. Not for me. For me, it has really good qualities. The scenes are really good, but there are so many little flaws that kind of destroy certain scenes or even messages for me. I have a huge contention with certain parts of the game in terms of narrative
Okay.
and also how it's structured. Like, I don't know, but if the majority thinks it's superb, fine by me. I wouldn't vote for The Last of Us Part 2. Hades, no idea. Ghost of Tsushima, I heard so many good things about it that there are so
Yeah.
many also smaller stories woven into the greater narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Yeah.
Jin's story and backstory of other characters are so well made and fit so well into this kind of half historical, half fantastical, or just
Yeah.
made up history of Japan. I think it's a really good contender. FF7 Remake has a few parts which the overall story is really good. Some parts of the story would have to see how the later parts play out to actually judge. For example, the ending. Right now, it's up in the air, and certain choices, like the additional story in chapter, was it 11 in the graveyard? It was I liked it, but it was weirdly positioned within time of urgency, so to speak, and it's felt a bit weird. Chapter 14, please no, please remove the sewers. Yeah, there were again inconsistent. Overall, really great, perfect chapter 1, really great chapter 2. Chapter 3 was a nice downtime when you had time to just muck around and learn about the slums, and the people was really good. Chapter 4 was a good change of pace as well, and new addition. We learned a bit more about Jesse. Then you had chapter 5 and 6 and 7 for the second bombing mission, which was kind of a bit drawn out, but still really good because we learned so much more about Midgar and the lore and how everything works. 8 was also well done with Aerith, so you have kind of spent more time with Aerith and the kids and learn about the slums, etc. Chapter 9 was phenomenal if you eject the hands. The robot hands was a bit too much.
Yeah.
And then, 10 and 11 a bit drawn out. 12 had its issues in terms of tone. 13, good and bad. 14, just a slog and a drag. It had good moments, but 15, I know it was just there. And 16 until 18 was really great again. So it had, let's say, in the...
it had pacing issues,
definitely
though,
pacing
right?
issues,
Like it had, where it's kind of like, okay, we've been doing this for a while now. I feel like it doesn't need to be as long to get your point across.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
exactly.
So I think that the flaws are gonna weigh this down a little bit, like to disadvantage
for sure
in this category.
Yeah, and also because it's just part 1 of the whole story, and many things for later parts are set up now. So this also will probably not have it weighed in best narrative.
Yeah, and also the addition of the whispers, like all of that stuff. That's it was very controversial, I guess.
To say the least,
and I don't.
In the end, I like it, but only because I've analyzed it to death.
Exactly. So I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to win best narrative.
No, probably not. 13 Sentinels, no idea what that is. Can't say anything about it. Maybe it is perfect story told perfectly. We don't know. Maybe it is.
So next category is best RPG. So Final Fantasy VII Remake, Genshin Impact, Persona 5 Royal, Wasteland 3, Yakuza Like a Dragon.
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Because I don't really know much about Wasteland 3. Genshin Impact, I heard...
I looked it up. Wasteland 3. It's kind of like a Psycom, like top-down, like isometric.
I see. Yeah, like a more strategic
strategy game.
Yeah, I guess. I see.
Yeah. So it's kind of like Final Fantasy Tactics, but it's like sci-fi, apocalyptic. It looks pretty cool. I'm not sure. I haven't played it like same thing as you, but I did look it up, and people seem to like it. It's got a lot of good reviews. So Genshin Impact, I downloaded on my phone. I tried it. I don't think Genshin Impact is going to win.
Probably not. Although I heard that it's actually pretty good. It's kind of like Zelda Breath of the Wild, kind of, but with elements from other games, and it works pretty well. But it's also still a mobile gacha game. So
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know.
Apparently, Yakuza, the new Yakuza, is really good as
Mhm.
well. It got good reviews, and like the Yakuza games are like they're pretty story based.
Yes.
But then they're also ridiculous where there's things happening. It's like you'd never ever do that ever, like experience that in any other game or in your
Mm.
life. Do you know what I
It's
mean?
pretty
Just
wacky,
it's
yeah.
just like yeah, which I applaud them for, and it's like GTA 5 as well kind of thing, but even like more out there.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
like I haven't played this one. It's got really good reviews online. A lot of people got a lot of good things to say about it. I think it's a good contender.
Mhm. Oh, for sure.
Persona 5 Royal, I think that I don't think it's gonna win. I think that it's a really good RPG, but essentially it's Persona 5 with like an expansion that's been bundled in with it. There's new characters and there's lore and things that are added. I looked it up online. I
Ah,
haven't
I
played
see. Yeah,
Persona
yeah,
5
yeah, right,
Royal.
right.
I have Persona 5. I didn't finish it, but I looked it up online and yeah, it's like Persona 5, but they've fixed things and they've added new characters that you discover and can use um, in your party, like when you're battling, and there's more story, like background story
Mhm.
about those new characters and stuff.
So it's actually just the expansion that's here on as a contender,
It's
right?
not a brand new
Yeah.
game. It's not a brand new game. People who love Persona 5 and listen to us are gonna hate me, but it's not a
Yeah,
brand
I
new
see what you mean,
storyline.
yeah.
It's not. Like, you still go through the same story beats from the beginning, and then you get to a certain point, and then you meet a new person that you can recruit on your team, like, that comes and helps you, and that person has lore and story behind them, and you figure like, you find things out about them.
Mm,
But it's more like it's like a definitive edition of Persona
yeah.
5, right? And I'm actually surprised that it's
Yeah, I
included
was about to say that
on
because if
this list because it's not.
or like the definitive edition.
I guess the same thing could be said about Final Fantasy VII Remake because it's a remake of an original game, but it's actually been remade
Not really.
from.
I'd say it's
But it's not an expansion. Like, it's not a DLC,
yeah,
or
it's
it's not like a Final Fantasy VII, the original Final Fantasy VII game with extra content that's just been
yeah, it's
released.
completely different story compared to Persona 5 Royal. It's a completely new game. It has the same story, like at a basis level, but the rest it's a completely new game. Has new, um, like new gameplay, so to speak, or extremely updated gameplay. It has new scenes. It is voice acted. It has different direction, so to speak. It looks much different. So the name, the word remake in the name can be ignored for this. But Persona 5 Royal is just the same game with some additions, as far as I can tell, as far as you told me.
Yeah, and the Persona
That's why it's
5,
weird.
the original
Yeah.
version, when did it come out? I think it came out like
2016 as well.
it came out a while ago.
I think it was
Came
like
out a while
half a
ago.
year before.
It came out for PS3.
Yeah, it was. Was it? Did it? I think.
In
Oh,
Japan, it did. I'm pretty sure
I
it did in
think
Japan.
in Japan it was before, like a year earlier, 2015, 2016 for the West, because I think it released in the same year as Final Fantasy 15. Because I do remember that there was a question: which one will you buy, Persona 5 or Final Fantasy 15? Because they were slated for the same year, and nobody knew when exactly they would release. But Persona 5 ended up releasing earlier, I think in the summer, and then FF15 was slated for the end of September, but then got delayed to the end of November. That's how I remember. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But still, yeah, I find it weird that it's on this list, especially since I'm pretty sure it
Yeah.
won awards the year it came out.
Yeah. I think it's controversial. I
Yeah.
guess like people could also argue the same thing about Final Fantasy VII Remake, right?
Yeah,
Because it's like, oh well,
not
it's not a
really.
brand new story, and it's not the same game though.
No,
It's
it's a
not the
completely
same
new
game.
game. And the original is
Yeah.
also 23 years old, so it's not comparable to Persona 5 Royal, which
Mm-hmm.
it's just 4 years later. But I don't know what the actual prerequisites are for being a contender. Maybe Persona 5 Royal fits or ticks all the boxes, then it's fine, but I still find it a bit weird.
I think that Final Fantasy VII Remake has a good chance of winning Best RPG for this year.
For sure, because gameplay-wise, it was really good.
I think that it does have a chance of winning. I think it's a good contender.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what other RPGs were released this past year because I've only played this one and a few like other ones, but I just think that it has, compared to these other nominees, I think that it has a good chance.
Although I must say, I think there are a lot of people who really love Persona 5 Royal and love its systems and the game itself, so...
Yeah, who knows?
It could also win.
It's a really good RPG.
In Yakuza, I heard so many good things about it as well.
Yeah.
The others I'm not too familiar with, so hard to say.
All right, so the next category is Best Performance. So we've got Ashley Johnson as Ellie in The Last of Us Part 2. Do you want to say this name? Because I'm going to just...
Daisuke Tsuchi as Jin in Ghost of Tsushima.
Thank you. Always there to help. I really appreciate it.
No worries.
Laura Bailey as Abby in The Last of Us Part 2. We've got Logan Cunningham as Hades in Hades. And then it looks like Naji Jeter in as Miles Morales in Spider-Man Miles Morales. People were upset that none of the VAs from Final Fantasy VII Remake were nominated for this category. And people are saying John Bentley
for sure.
voiced Barrett should have been included.
Or maybe even Britt Baron for Tifa. She also did a really great job for Tifa.
She did. Oh,
actually, all did a great job. But I think for personally, Tifa and Barrett stood out the most. I think.
I think so too. Yeah. And they've got 2 from The Last of Us.
I think this should be illegal. Just from two from the same game. This is kind of cheating, I think.
But it's two separate people, right?
For sure,
Two separate characters. So I guess it could be argued that
maybe they just wanted
their performances are so good that they have to include them both, right? But this past year, I think that it's been insane. Like the releases that we've had, the games that have come out,
definitely,
they've just been so good. And I think it was really hard to come up with nominees, and maybe it could have been that John was like shortlisted or he was on there and then they were like, okay, so they had to cut some of them out, you know what I mean? Maybe he was right after this one, but I haven't played Miles Morales because I don't have a PS5, so I can't give my opinion on that performance. So it could be Ashley Johnson or Ghost of Tsushima in Daisuke
Tsuchi.
Daisuke Tsuchi. Yeah, it could be. It's who knows. I think any of these voice actors, honestly, it's a toss-up.
Yeah, I don't know much about the other 3, but in Last of Us Part 2, those 2 I've heard, of course, because I played the game. And for me, Laura Bailey does practically in everything. She is a really, really good job. She's really talented, and she at first, because I didn't remember that it's actually she plays Abby or speaks speaks Abby. I didn't hear it. It wasn't as how should I phrase this? It wasn't, her voice wasn't really audible at first, because she just changed her voice this little bit that it fit the character, and it blended so well together that I didn't hear it at first.
Okay.
But then I remembered, oh yeah, right, it is Laura Bailey, and now I hear it, but I had to listen really hard. That's what I applaud some voice actors for, when they can change their natural voice this much that they are always able to give this special note to each character, and those characters don't sound alike. Troy Baker is also this phenomenal voice actor who can pull this off very nicely.
Yeah. I also think Austin Lee Matthews did an amazing job with Roche in the remake as well.
Oh, for sure,
and he's one of those VAs as well where he can change his voice, and it's like you just look at him and you're like,
Yeah.
that's who that voice is coming out of. Like it's
weird,
insane. Yeah. It's insane. Like I've watched his demo reel, and I've watched his latest VA like anime that's on YouTube, and I've listened to it, and it's insane. Like he's so flexible as a VA, and I thought he did a really good job as well, but he's not on here. So I'm gonna go with Ashley Johnson or Daisuke. Daisuke.
Yeah.
Daisuke. I'm literally just murdering people's names.
That's fine. That's fine.
But
you're not the only one.
Sorry, guys. And then the last one is Game of the Year. We've got Final Fantasy VII Remake, Doom Eternal, Last of Us Part 2, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Ghost of Tsushima, and Hades. I don't think Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to win. I want it to win.
Same.
I don't think it is. It's either Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, or Hades. It could be that I'm wrong and it's Animal Crossing New Horizons. I don't think it's going to be Animal Crossing. For some reason, I just feel like, but Doom Eternal was so good too. Yeah. It's honestly
it's a hard choice. Yeah, definitely.
If we're looking at all of these categories, best game direction, best art direction, best narrative, best RPG, best, like, some of these didn't have, like, Last of Us Part 2 was nominated for a lot in most of these categories. And it could be, people are expecting Last of Us Part 2 to win almost all of these, just like it swept at the Golden Joystick Awards. I think it could be a toss-up between that and Ghost of Tsushima. I don't think Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to win.
Probably not.
Yeah. I think it's going to win Best Soundtrack. I think that's the highest, like the most strongest chances, like the highest chances for it to win is Best Soundtrack. And second, I think Best RPG.
I'm with you on that, yeah.
Yeah, and I just don't think it's going to win Game of the Year. So, anyway,
what
do you think?
I personally am really hoping for a Ghost of Tsushima because it deserves it. Looks really good. It's a new IP. It's a breath of fresh air. It's brought a lot of new things to the table, especially in terms of
that's true.
Open world, like with the direction system. It isn't like an arrow or like a beacon you see somewhere or something like that. It's just the wind that guides you. It's so well done. And so many little things that I've seen about this game, and the multiplayer was even free and really good customer or developer-customer relationship. And I think in my opinion, it should win.
Yeah, I think so too. Like you said, it's a new IP. The art direction is incredible. The game direction as well. And like the story is something new, and it's going into the history of Japan, and we're learning, but obviously it does dabble in, like fiction and also like fantasy elements as well.
Like some Japanese mythology is in there a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, I think it has a solid chance of winning. And also, I think that The Last of Us Part 2 was very divisive.
That as well.
Like, it kind of split the people's opinions about it. They're very split. That probably doesn't matter.
No, I'd say this doesn't really matter at all. But what I'd say, it's kind of just more of the same. It's just The Last of Us, the first game, but more beautiful, longer, expanded combat and gameplay elements, just different story, but it's not really something unique and new. It did a lot well, for sure, and tech-wise, it's I'd say top-notch. But like this, it for me, it's missing this certain something which Ghost of Tsushima has, as far as I can tell from those few hours I saw and heard about it. It has so many unique things that, for me, it's just pretty clear. That comes from Final Fantasy VII Remake enthusiast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was just, as I said before, too inconsistent to actually be Game of the Year or have best game direction and stuff. That's It's sad to say, but I have to try and stay objective about this.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Animal Crossing, it's just extremely popular, as I've heard, but it doesn't speak to me at all.
Right.
Doom Eternal, I'm no FPS guy, can't say much about it, but I've heard that it's really, really solid game design. It's a superb gameplay loop. It's rewarding. It is it's buttery smooth, I think. It is 60 FPS, I
Mm-hmm.
think, even on PS4, 5, 4 and Pro. I'm not quite sure. But it's pretty smooth and it's more Doom. It works. Great gameplay design stuff. So I wouldn't be mad if Doom Eternal would win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wins.
Yeah, we had a big year this past year. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
It's crazy. Like all the games that came out that are just so good.
I am kind of surprised that Resident Evil 3 isn't anywhere on there. I just realized.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it was just a tad too
Maybe.
or not up to par with the rest. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like the game has to win a certain amount of these categories in order to be like in order to win Game of the Year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or even in is it even in any of the categories? Is it?
No,
I haven't
Resident Evil
seen it
3 is not.
anywhere.
No.
I think
No.
that's what kind of baffles me a little bit, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. There wasn't a horror best horror game category, so that's probably why.
Yeah. I picked out the ones that had Final Fantasy VII Remake in them because some of them didn't.
Yeah, definitely.
So like best performance didn't. I chose this one because I just wanted to talk about
Oh, for sure.
how
Yeah.
John wasn't chosen. But there are other categories as well, like
also multiplayer, esports, family game, and all those other
esports,
things.
exactly, family game. There's another one too, VR or something. It
VR,
was like
yeah.
Phasmophobia or whatever was
Esports
probably going to
team,
win that one.
best
but I didn't include it.
community, whatever. This wasn't really pertinent to our podcast, so
Yeah.
I'm glad you only chose those more important
Yeah.
ones.
Like I'm a Dota 2 fan. Dota 2 wasn't even on there for anything. Right? I know that Shiver was on there. She's a popular like caster or whatever, and she was nominated and I voted for her. I hope she's amazing. But like it was League of Legends was in a lot of those categories, but Dota wasn't anybody to be seen. And I thought that like they deserve to be there, but they're not. So anyways.
Oh well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right, so the last thing we're talking about is, will Final Fantasy 16 release in 2021? Apparently, there was an article that was published in official PlayStation magazine that had said that it was releasing in 2021. Apparently, it's a misprint. We'll never know, but that's the reasoning was, I guess, they had made a mistake in print about that. They retracted that statement and saying that they don't know when it's going to come out. I looked online and it looked like Square Enix is having a hiring fair November 28th for multiple positions. That was yesterday. Multiple positions for the Final Fantasy 16 development team, including enemy designer, level designer, UI designer, environmental artist, visual effects artist, technical animator, narrative designer, animator, and cinematic artists. So it looks like that a lot of these are just really putting the extra details and polish and truly bringing the game to life. Narrative designer and level designer are pretty interesting to see them fully flesh this out more. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know what that sentence is trying to say. I think I was really tired when I
Probably,
wrote this. Yeah. But the argument online that I read was that it's closer to being released than we thought because at this stage when they're hiring this, it's just about putting the finishing touches and like the scenarios are all done and like
for sure.
It's just finishing it up.
It might even be playable from start to finish, but unpolished and without many optional stuff, like just the main story. And it might work in general. Maybe they even have to insert certain bosses yet, but the story itself is done and the areas are all done, like roughly, or maybe even more than roughly. So enemy design, it could just be design the rough enemies better or add a few more
Yeah.
bosses, or add optional bosses, or the less important enemies, work them out a little bit better.
Right.
Level design is the same. You can always design a level like as a draft, and it might work, but the level designer then just goes in and makes it better, change stuff around a bit. No, we should place this one here. We should just switch around because of player progression, what have you, or it's not really clear where to go, so we have to put like a point of interest there. You see that you see, oh, okay, it's this one, because I think we'll have more expansive zones. So it's really important that that each area or each part of the area is kind of unique, and you always know according to landmarks where you are, where you have to go, which is really important. Because otherwise players would just get lost, and a level designer could even late stage be there to like fine tune everything. UI designer as well.
Yeah.
UI is constantly reworked. We've seen this for the remake with the first trailer, and then the screenshots, and then the later trailers. There was a pretty big evolution between the UIs. And since in this first trailer we haven't seen any UI at all, even in the battle scenes, so the UI is probably just preliminary for now. So a UI designer can also just go in late and fix everything and make it smooth and understandable for the audience or for the player. Environmental artist, the same, just to smooth out the rough edges. Like, the environments are kind of done, but maybe in a rough state. We have seen in the trailer it's pretty rough in certain places and could use an environmental artist. VFX, also the video effects, you don't need to do this flashy effects from the beginning. You can insert a few ones that kind of look cool, but are not final at all. Technical artist and technical animator, I'm not quite sure what they do. Probably more on the engine side, like animator. That's like the animation engine, probably not the ones that actually animate. Yeah, can't really say much to those. Narrative designer to smooth out narrative, optional quests, certain maybe even banter or flesh out lore and insert it into optional dialogues and stuff. Animator.
It could be like tying it back into the story, like connecting
exactly.
You know
to
what
flesh
I mean?
out everything and connect everything, yeah. Animator, you can always use better animations for anything. So it's you can always use an animator until the end, so to speak. Cinematic artist as well. Like certain cutscenes might be a bit rough, and cinematic artists can make sure that it's actually cinematic and looks better. So I can't find anything that is needed or that actually suggests that they're like 3 years out. So for me, it seems, they just need like maybe a year or a bit longer more to finish up everything, get it to the gold status, and then maybe 1-2 months later the release. Which is why I think it's possible to get this game out before April 2022, which would still go within the financial year. I'm not sure it's 21 or 22, like between April 2021 and March 2022, in this financial year. Square Enix always cuts the financial year between March and April.
Yes.
So I can see Q1 of 2022 as the release date. That's pretty realistic, I'd say.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be amazing to have a PS5 and
definitely
like know that there's a mainline Final Fantasy, a new one that's coming out.
And also not one that treads old footsteps. It seems to be pretty, how should I say this? Not quite unique, but it's still this fantasy. It's kind of has this medieval touch with all the realms
Yep.
and the houses and the kingdoms and stuff, and sword combat and the summoning, of course. It fits pretty well together, like magic and knights. And it's the first mainline that shows actual violence, which is also pretty interesting. This means
Yeah.
that they don't have to pull any punches. They can depict this world as they want it to be, as rough and hellish it may be, which
Mm-hmm.
probably is necessary for the story to work. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really looking forward to this. When I first watched the trailer, I wasn't quite sure what to think about it. Because at first I thought, oh, okay, just another expansion of Final Fantasy XIV. And then I thought, maybe, wait, this is a bit too much for an expansion. What is this? And then it's at the end, just Final Fantasy 16. It was just kind of dumbstruck, if this is a word.
Yeah.
And just had to kind of adjust to this actually being the next main line, because it didn't really look next gen. And we only saw like one guy battle monsters as if it's kind of a Devil May Cry battle system or something like
Yeah.
that. And I felt weird, but after analyzing everything, I think this is really on a good track, this game. It could be
I think so too.
like the first mainline Final Fantasy that can contend with or it can be a good contender to the golden days,
Yeah.
like a mature
I really
Final
hope
Fantasy
so.
4, Final Fantasy 9, or even 4,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
just a mature
I hope
version.
that it goes there.
Yeah,
Like I hope it goes there, and I think it has potential to actually be really successful.
yes.
With, like you said, the mature
Mm,
um like rating and having blood and just more violence, but it's more mature.
mhm,
Like it's more of a mature Final
yeah.
Fantasy. And I think it has potential to even get really dark,
Yeah, for sure.
you know, and explore that. And I
Mhm,
really hope they do. And just by like reading the information that is on the official website, it sounds like they've really fleshed out the different
mhm,
kingdoms and the people who live in the
definitely.
kingdoms
Yeah,
and the
huge lore.
citizens, and like it sounds so cool. And also to revisit that medieval time,
Mhm.
which like I haven't really played a game that had, like, I'm trying to think of a game recently that I played that had like a medieval setting. The last one was Witcher 3, I think, that I played, that had that
Yeah,
kind
though I
of.
think this is even further back in the past, like
Yeah,
comparatively.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I just mean like with
Yeah,
castles
sure,
and,
for sure. Yeah.
ride horseback riding
Yeah.
and sword combat
Mm.
and that sort of thing. I think it was Witcher 3, the last one that I played, that
Mhm.
had that. I mean, I played Bloodborne, which is, it's more of like a fictional.
Victorian
Yeah,
London
Victorian.
stuff,
Yeah,
I know.
like
Yeah,
gothic,
Gothic.
gothic setting.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be awesome. And like I said, looking forward to having a Final Fantasy, mainline Final
Mm.
Fantasy that's releasing for the PS5. And also hopefully getting Remake Part 1 as a PS5 release in 2021, after the exclusivity expires. So I'm going to have, Remake Part 1 on my
Mhm.
PS5, play that for like a year, and then we get, you know, what I'm
Yeah,
saying. But
sure.
it's just like, and then after 16 comes out, that'll be out, and then we'll get more information about part
Mhm.
2. So it's kind of like more Final Fantasy content on a more regular
Yes,
basis
for sure.
than just having to wait
Yeah.
with absolutely nothing, right? Like look at the amount of time that it was between like 15 and Remake. We had like nothing. We just didn't. And then before 15 came out, we had nothing.
Just 14. Yeah,
We had 14.
nothing
We had
else.
nothing, almost a full console generation without anything. Like,
Yeah, it was rough, but I think Square
wow.
Enix is slowly going back
Yeah.
to to better
Mhm.
times, let's say. Although
Fingers
in
crossed.
term yeah, fingers crossed, yeah. And in terms of Final Fantasy 16, I think there are two major things that it needs to incorporate. First, which many people say, party combat. It can't be just a one-person battle. even if the party members are AI and you can kind of customize them a little bit, wouldn't be too mad. It would be a kind of Final Fantasy 15 all over again, but if it works for the story, okay, fine. But still, I'd like to have actual party and being able to switch between, like in the remake, worked really well. Yeah. And the second one, it needs humor, the occasional humor, that like this comic relief. If it's dark after dark after dark, and then more dark, and then hellish, and then abyssal, like in terms of tone and story, then it will just be depressing after a while. So it needs this like upbeat moments in between, even if it's just like some kind of situational humor, or just one character that is really well made and lightens up the mood. I just hope it's something that doesn't like kill the rest of the tone. It doesn't feel like a dagger that's thrust through the usual dark atmosphere, but integrates well into it. Even that maybe the characters sometimes in lore or in story need something to cheer them up to kind of continue. You know what I mean? It's not just
it breaks up the like the dark kind of negative,
exactly,
like more serious tone, right? It just makes it more
bearable,
digestible.
That too, that just was the better word, I think. Yeah, but not just bearable,
exactly.
But not just for us, but also for the characters within the story. Because if the characters go from dark, or from tragedy to tragedy to tragedy, it would also kind of feel weird, even if there is humor in between. If the characters aren't really affected by this humor, it might not feel as good as it would otherwise. So that's kind of where I'm standing in my thinking, my train of thought.
Well, I'm really excited, and I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it whether it's bad or not.
I'm gonna pre-order it.
Let's be honest. Yeah. Right?
Final Fantasy is probably the only series I just pre-ordered because I know I get my money's worth. Even if it's not the best game, it will be good to at least play through once. And 100%.
I agree. Yeah, and I want to support Square Enix, and I just want them to continue making Final Fantasy games, you know, and I just want to show that support. And I'm gonna probably buy it on multiple platforms. It just depends on how good it is. Like I bought 15 for PS4. I didn't buy it again. I didn't buy it on PC. And I had Xbox Game Pass because I signed up because they had a free trial. And I played it on my PC because they do have it as part of that. So I downloaded it and I tried it. I did enjoy the graphics and everything on my PC, but then I canceled my Game Pass subscription, so I haven't went back to it since then. But I don't have time, man. I'm just
same.
You know, trying to make it through, and I still didn't finish my hard playthrough.
Yeah, same.
Remake, but I was waiting to do that until I got my PS5. So come on, Sony.
Yeah, I got stuck in chapter 13, and then I needed to play something else to kind of switch things up, and now I'm still hanging on Trails of Cold Steel, and it's so good, and I just don't want to stop, and Oh well.
Yeah, you know what would be so cool? Honestly, I just had this idea. If they made like a tower defense game like Dota, but it was Final Fantasy characters, that would be so cool. Like a top-down isometric, like you choose your character, that character has ultimates and abilities,
why
and
not?
You choose items, but they're items from Final Fantasy that
just
you could buy, but it's really complex. So you're rewarded for like learning the system, like League of Legends, but harder. But with Final Fantasy characters, what? Okay. Square Enix, if you're listening, come on. Anyway.
Yeah, sure. Spin-off.
So that concludes our episode for today. If you guys have any questions for us at all, or any upcoming topics that you want to suggest that we cover on our next episodes, you can write us. Our email is thereunionpodcast@gmail.com. thereunionpodcast@gmail.com. Why don't you stop what you're doing and go and join our Discord server? We have an amazing podcast community. So all you have to do is click the Discord server link in every description of every episode, and you will be joined to our podcast Discord. We also have a Twitter account. It's at @reunion_podcast. Our Facebook is Reunion Podcast. Our YouTube channel is The Reunion Podcast, and we post all of our episodes there. And do you want to drop your socials, Vyzz, for Cosmo Canyon Observatory?
For sure. So it's Cosmo Canyon Observatory on YouTube. It's easy to find. Then we have a Twitter account where we post a lot of things, usually just more analysis and little things we find and fun facts and stuff, which is at cc_observatory. cc_observatory. And we also have a Discord, of course. The link of this is on our Twitter bio and in every YouTube video, or just, I hope you can just search for Cosmo Canyon Observatory and find it there. I'm not sure if it works, maybe, but it's just the easiest. Go to our Twitter or a YouTube account. Also on the YouTube page itself, I put some links in the banner. Discord is there as well. So it's pretty easy to join. And it's a super welcoming community. We talk about everything Final Fantasy and other games. It's pretty cool.
Well, Vyzz, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me for the podcast today. It's been awesome. So until next time.
Yeah, bye-bye everyone. Have a good day.